Wait, are you are you gonna count me in? Whatever. I'm just gonna go for it. Welcome to the Queen's Lead podcast. I'm your host, Amy Singleton, and as a child of the 80s, I'd love to say queens rule, but they don't. Queens lead. Being a queen means you are worthy to be a leader of people. The guests on our show do exactly that. They are leading the way in their businesses, families, and communities. And they're taking their rightful place in the spotlight, leading and inspiring the developing queens in all of us. Welcome to the Queen's Lead podcast.
Now here's your host, Amy Singleton, the queen of realness, leading conversations about business, life, and the real shit you want to know.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Queen's Lead podcast. Today, we are covering a very hot topic. I am so excited to welcome Karianne Munsteadt. She is a photographer, a speaker, and she is helping motivate women about our bodies. Can anybody relate to not having a good relationship with your body? A lot of you who follow me know I've had gastric bypass surgery. I was at one time almost 300 pounds. In my adulthood, I've been that weight. I've been 126 pounds. Nobody was ever happy with it, including myself. And Karianne is going to help us walk through that. But before we get into talking to Karianne, you guys know that I am the real Amy Singleton. That's literally my handle on everything. And I try to keep it real as much as I possibly can. Some of you who follow me on social media might have seen what I'm dealing with lately, but in the spirit of body acceptance, I am going to remove my fake tooth. That is something I've been rocking for a few weeks now, and I will be rocking this fake tooth until I get my final implant this spring, guys. It's gonna be like April or like March or April or May even before I get this tooth in. But here we are, accepting each other. This is a major humility moment, and I'm here in my full body. So welcome, Karianne.
Bravo, Amy, bravo. Yay.
Hey, I'm from Oklahoma. This just fits.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Oh
hey,
gosh.
You know what?
Bravo, right? Like, I mean, the more that we can be just real in who we are, the more that we can just let go of these things and face them. It just shows. I mean, so many people are experiencing what you're experiencing right now, right? So for you to just show it just gives people not permission, but just like the ability to show their real selves too. So bravo to you.
100%. Like, this is the real, you know what? Stuff happens, guys. This is real life. And that the intro to this podcast says real life and the real shit you want to know. So here you go.
I don't know if
real
you
is
can
the
read
new
this,
perfect.
but this is my slogan, real is the new perfect, right? So the perfect teeth were in, now the real teeth are in, right? And like there's nothing wrong with either one of them, right? So
how you are. So Karianne, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So I am a portrait photographer, I'm a coach, I'm a speaker. I think what's different about me is that obviously there's tons of photographers. I know you've had photographers on here before, but we all have, something different about us. And I really try to help women see and speak to themselves a lot differently, see themselves, speak to themselves more through love, through kindness, through acceptance, through accepting their bodies just as they are and being free to be real in their photos, real in their life, real in their social media, just as they are. And like I said, that I do that then through photography, through speaking, through coaching. So that's a little bit about me and my business. I'm based out of Phoenix. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm all the things as well. But that's a little bit about me.
I love you have a reel on your website or a video on your website that talks about moving from just being satisfied to being accepting. Can you expand on that? What does that mean?
It's even more than that. So I think that there are 5 stages of body image. There's body hate, which so many people honestly, like we do, right? We won't even look at ourselves in the mirror because we hate our bodies so much. We hate what we have done to our bodies so much, and then we get to a place of body dissatisfaction where it's not necessarily hate, but it's definitely still a dislike, still like a, every time you look at yourself, it's just like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. It's maybe not so severe as hate, but it's still there. And then
Yeah.
there's body neutrality. So, right in the middle there, where you don't really think one thing or another thing about your body. Your body is just is. And that is a really great place to be. And then if you can move the needle to body acceptance, right? Like, okay, this is my body, this is my tooth, just as it is, right? This is
Right.
what's going on with me. There is nothing wrong with it. I have, I'm a curvy woman myself. I have, I'm over 200 pounds. Like, I have a big belly. I've got, all the things. And it's just like, this is just what it is on my body. And I'm not going to stop myself from doing anything in my life because of my body. It's just accepting it how it is. And then if you
Mhm.
can get all the way to body love, where you just love your body, you love yourself, like, that is a really hard place to get to. I'm not even there at this point in my life, but I've been doing this work for myself for a really long time.
Mhm.
If you can get there, that is amazing. But my goal is just to get women to that place of body acceptance, just accepting themselves for everything that they are, and knowing that it is not, that there is nothing wrong with them, that their bodies are good just as they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, first of all, there's so much to unpack there. But I want to get to some of the questions and what some of the naysayers may say about that. But
Mhm.
first, what I have found in 126 episodes now of this podcast, talking to women over and over and over again, what I have
Yes.
found is that when we visit what we were like as little girls, we
Mhm.
come full circle to where we are now. It's not everyone is there, but women that are around my age in that kind of late 30s to early 50s kind of range
Yes.
we seem to have started to get it. And so I want to know, what was little girl Karianne like?
Yes, that is such a great question. Um, I have, of course, listened to your podcast and knew this question was coming, so I've had a little time to think about it. And the one word that literally keeps coming to my mind is perfect. And this is why. It's not
Mm.
like I'm a perfect being, right? There is no such thing as
Yeah.
perfect. But this is why I say that I was just a perfect child, and how this has played it into my life now, right? As an adult, as a
Hmm.
photographer, all the things. So I grew up with an abusive father, and he was, very, very emotionally, manipulatively, physically, he's very abusive to us. And I did not, I mean, I had a fine childhood. We were given a lot of things to make up for that.
Mm.
But I had a lot of fear in my life, fear of getting in trouble, fear of getting hit, fear of getting hurt. So I
Mm.
became a perfect kid, right? I
Mm.
became I did perfect in school. I did perfect in sports. I was quiet. I didn't ask a lot of questions. I didn't have my own opinions. I did what I was supposed to do. I was a good little girl. And so I
Mhm.
was actually a really perfect child.
Mhm.
um, and unfortunately, that being a perfect child doesn't translate so well when you go off into the world on your own, and
Right?
you have no opinions of anything, right? I mean, I have no opinions on anything, and it's taken me a really long time to develop it. I also don't have a lot of memories of myself as a child. I actually asked my mom. I texted my mom and I was like, "What was I like as a little girl?" Because I do not remember anything at all. And what has happened, I've grown up with this story that I have bad memory. That's a story that I've been telling myself. I just have bad memory. I just have
Mm.
bad memory. And you know what? It's not that I have a bad memory, because as an adult, I don't have a bad memory at all.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
everything. Just ask my husband. I remember
Just
everything.
ask your husband. You know it all, right? Yeah.
But when you're living in a place of fear, I don't want to remember that stuff, right? Like, so I blocked out so much stuff from me as a child. I only really have memories of the bad things that happened when I was a kid, not the good things that happened. And I know that there were good things, right? Like, I know that I still had a loving mother. You know what I mean? Like, I still had a lot of good stuff, but I have blocked out so much because it was so negative that I don't really have a memory of myself other than knowing that I was perfect because I didn't want to get in trouble.
Wow.
So that is me as a child. So thank you for asking that question, actually, because I hadn't really, like, I kind of put it all together, but I hadn't really put the part together about me actually having a good memory, just having blocked out that memory. So thanks for
Yeah.
asking that question, because it really made me
Yeah.
think a lot about it.
Yeah, I'm glad it did. I really think that, it's actually the post I made on social media this morning was, what did your childhood teach you that you had to unlearn or rewire your brain about. So
Yeah.
obviously today you're a very confident woman, you're a very successful entrepreneur. What changed? What
Yeah.
changed? What was the unwiring of that like? Do you remember kind of like the first time that you were
Oh,
like, "Hey, I've got an opinion about something?"
I mean, so I that's a great question. I don't have a good memory, so I don't remember
Yeah.
the first time. But that's a great question. I'm definitely I do have a lot of confidence today, and I'm also 47 years old today, and this was me as a little kid, and it's taken 40 plus years to be able to get where I'm at today because I've been doing so much work.
Yeah.
Um, uh, my dad also wanted my mom to be thin, right? So my mom was on every diet. She like exercised a lot, all these things. And then I saw that is what I was supposed to do. So I was on every single diet under the sun. Like, we've been there, done that. Right. Exactly. All the things,
Mhm.
right? The cabbage soup, taking fen for a while and it feeling like
Yeah.
speed and
Yeah.
crawling out of my skin from that. I mean,
I
every
was
little
on
thing.
Fen when I was like 13 to 15 years old as a child
Oh,
because it was the same cycle in my family. It wasn't coming from my father, but my
yeah.
mother, and I know she doesn't listen to this podcast, so I can say this, but even to this day, my mother at 64 years old, 63, 64 years old, is still completely and totally obsessed with the number on the scale. Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah.
It's always been,
Yeah.
and it was an up and down cycle constantly of going on the diet, going off the diet, no, we're on the diet, now
Yeah.
we're on the diet
And
again. What's
and
mom
then that's
doing
what
this
you
week?
and that's what you see, and then
Mhm,
did you do the same thing as well then? Right?
mhm.
Because
Oh, yeah,
we do what we see, and I
right.
was the perfect child that didn't wanna get in trouble, so I wanted to
Mhm.
maintain that
Yep,
thin physique as well, and
yep.
so, I think once I was finally, able to move out and start experiencing the world, I mean, it took me a long time to start forming my own opinions. I was still that girl for a very long time, but I
Yeah.
started gaining some weight. I was like not under that thumb anymore. I don't know. I started therapy probably when I was so I've been divorced. I got divorced when I was about 30. And I think by that time I was in therapy for a couple of years and I was in therapy for like 6 years. So it was
Mhm.
one of my longest relationships ever. And it was one of the best relationships that I've ever had. Go find a therapist if you don't have one.
Sure,
Um,
100%.
but during that time is honestly probably when I started to learn that I could actually have my own opinions and think for myself and that I was not going to get in trouble from anyone for that, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, I'm allowed to have whatever opinions that I want to have. But that didn't start until I was almost 30 years old. So clearly I'm into
Mhm.
an adult life. I've been married by that time, probably why that, relationship also didn't work out because
Yeah.
I didn't even know who I was. I had no idea who I was at the time. So there's not like one point, but definitely the therapy piece of it is what helped me start, understanding that I could have my own opinions, developing my own opinions, thinking more critically of myself, thinking deeper, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, like, I am really something I'm tired of is like seeing women of our age. I'm 43, you're 47, finally get it, right? But is there a way that we can teach these young women? My daughters are 24, 25, and 29, my stepdaughters. And like, how can I, as a parent, you just want to infuse your wisdom, right? But how can you and
Yeah.
I, who have been through this, we've been through a marriage, we've been through a divorce, we had the childhood experience, and now we're full circle. I want to see more women
Yeah.
come full circle earlier. Like, I want to hear women that are 28 going, I get it, like I'm full, I'm free. How can we start? I mean, obviously, outside of just speaking about it, how can we start to change that for them?
It's such a hard question because I think that it's so ingrained in us and it's going to take I think what it's going to do is it's going to take, you know, decades. This is a big societal change that needs to happen, right? This is not
Hmm.
something that's been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? The way that we I mean maybe not that long, but I mean definitely
Yeah.
for 100 years or something like that,
Hmm.
right? It's what our parents learned from our grandparents, right? It's like it's generations of stuff, and it's just the way that society is right now. So I
Yeah.
just think that it's going to take a couple more generations, honestly, for a big shift to happen. I think
Hmm.
all we can do now is, like you said, just keep talking about it. Also, like So people ask me all the time, will you go speak to like these high school kids or something like that? And I said, I appreciate that ask, but I really want to work with the moms because it doesn't matter
Mhm.
what 60-minute talk I come and talk to high schoolers about, they're going to go home and they're going to learn from their mom. They're going to learn from their
Yeah.
dad. They're going to learn from what they see more than they're not going to listen to me, they might
Right.
hear a tip or something like that, but they're going to do what they see. So we just have to get so much better at accepting our bodies for what they are, not talking about our bodies, right? Our bodies are literally the least interesting things about us, right? What is the
Yeah.
most interesting things about us? The love and the light that we put into this world, right? Our goals, all the beautiful things that we're doing, all the philanthropy that we're doing. I mean, all those things that we're doing are really the beautiful things that should be celebrated about us. Our bodies are the least interesting things. So
Mhm.
let's stop the conversation around our bodies, around what we're eating, around, even around Thanksgiving, so many times people say, they have to go run their 5K now so they can, exercise off all the food, or they have to do
Mhm.
it ahead of time so they can have space for food. And it's like, no, you don't. We do not need to punish ourselves, not punish, but like we do not need, we can just eat. We can just
Yeah.
enjoy food without having to do something to work off the
Mhm.
calories. We
Yeah.
don't have to step on the scale every day. And I think the more that women our age and who have those teenagers start reflecting and changing the way that we are interacting with our bodies and doing that
Mhm.
in a place of more love, kindness, acceptance, then our daughters are going to see that as well. And when they become moms, right, then they're not going to be doing the same things that our daughters saw from us. They're going to have a very different relationship with their bodies. So I do believe that it's going to take a couple of generations to get kind
Yeah.
of past this. But
Yeah.
all we can do now is just start trying to change our relationship with ourselves. And that's really what we can do.
Absolutely. So, okay, here comes some of the hard questions because over
Oh,
the last few years, I have seen such a huge shift. I mean, women like Lizzo. Okay, that's a big hot topic for a lot of people. I'm constantly getting ads for snag tights because there was a time that I could only shop at Lane Bryant. Like there was no other option for
oh, me
me.
too. Me too.
You know,
Totally, Brian. Two places that I could
Torrid,
go to.
yeah, Torrid was came along a little after I had my weight loss surgery, but like, so where is that switch over on health?
You
Because I
know,
know for me, I was definitely a lot less healthy at 300 pounds than I am at 150. But
mhm.
I mean,
And
it's
that
I
was
had to
you,
accept before I moved, right? Like, and
right?
everyone's different. So to speak to
Right.
that a little bit.
So, and that was you. I think that health is a very personal thing, and everyone defines their health differently.
Mhm.
Um, I think that you can be healthy at whatever weight you are. And again, I mean, healthy is an individual thing. Like what your definition of healthy is might not be what my definition of healthy is.
Mhm.
And if I'm
Yeah.
okay with my definition of healthy and I'm okay with that at 300 pounds, then I just think that we don't need to worry about other people's health. I think we need to focus
Yeah.
on our own
Right.
health.
Right.
Honestly, and what our
Yeah.
own definition of health is, right? We have
Mhm.
been fed by the media and by, by certain things like what healthy eating looks like, what a healthy weight looks like, what the BMI is, all these
Oh my
things.
God. Yeah.
And actually, so much of that is, maybe that was real at that time when we learned it, but it's changed and evolved, and health is a different thing now. So I don't ever want to get into that conversation on health with anyone because everyone, I think it's so personally different for them.
Yeah.
That if they feel like they're healthy and they are a certain weight, whatever weight that is, that's their choice and their decision. That's between them and
Yeah.
their doctors.
That's right.
And that is not any of my business.
Mhm.
I have recently lost a lot of weight too. I have lost 80 pounds recently, and I have done that through Manjaro.
Mhm.
Because I got to a point, and it wasn't really my physical health. I mean, yes, now like 80 pounds less, I am stronger in my body. I am able to get up and down more. My I don't think that my blood sugar is not any different. My labs aren't really any different. So is my health much different now than it was when I was 80 pounds heavier? Not a lot. My physical body is different and it's easier for me to
Yeah.
do things. But what is
Mhm.
different for me and why I went on this journey in the first place was for my mental health, because I have an eating disorder and I was tired of that eating disorder controlling my life so much that that's all I could think about was food and when I was going to get my next meal. And I was overly addicted to sugar and soda and all the things. And so I
Mhm.
started this mental health journey so I could stop that particular voice in my head. But I don't think that my mental health is different. My mental health is
Yeah.
better. I,
Yeah.
for me, because of what I was experiencing. But I don't think that my physical health is actually much different, except for being stronger in my body at this point.
Yeah. Well, I love that you say, like it's none of their business. It's none of their business. And people love to make it their business. I will tell you, like people were so worried, quote unquote, worried about me when I was at that 300-pound level. But I'm
Mhm.
telling you, after I had the gastric bypass surgery and I got down to like in the 120s, there were people coming out of the woodwork going, "What's the matter with you? You look like a crack whore. Aren't you
Yeah,
ever
right.
eating?
That's
Put
what I
bacon
mean,
on
right?
everything." And you're like,
But, like,
"Oh my
why
God."
is everyone so worried about you? Like,
Right.
you need to be worried about you, right? Like, this
Right.
is your life,
That's right.
and
That's
you
right.
need to do what you need to do for yourself, and you need to take full control over your life, right? Like,
Mhm.
we do need to do that too. We need to stand up and take full control over our lives. And
Yeah.
so why is everyone so worried about your weight? It's
I
amazing, isn't
know.
it?
Right?
Something
Yeah,
else, something else. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, please,
Speak
please.
up.
No, finish your thought. What were you going to say there?
Um, I don't even know now.
Sorry, I accidentally interrupted you
No, it's
and
good.
you
No,
lost the
you're
thought.
fine.
Well, something else I was gonna say is we need to also believe that our children know what is right for their bodies as well, especially our daughters, right? Because
Mhm.
women's bodies fluctuate in weight more than men's bodies do.
Mhm.
And so like my daughter, she's in college and her weight is fluctuating up and down at different times for different things. And I will never say a thing to her about her body. I
Yeah.
will check in with her to see, where she is emotionally, where she is mentally, what's going on in her world to make sure that it seems like she's okay in that way. But I am never going to say a thing about her body because I would never want her to think that, anything that she's doing is wrong or bad because our bodies are just going to fluctuate through our entire life. And so I think
Yeah.
that that's a really important thing that women need to do too is to not, I mean, we can talk about things, but like not talk about, it's like, oh gosh, are you okay because you've gained weight? Or are you okay because you've lost weight? Like, let's go
Yeah.
about it a different way, checking in with them, but not having it based on what their weight is and what their
Yeah.
size is.
Oh my gosh. So many thoughts from that. Like, first of all, the way you would describe that to me is like when we tie our value
Yes.
to temporary things, that
Temporary.
really starts to jack with your head, right? Like, so for me, not even about my body, but like in my past, I had tied my identity to like my ex-husband because I met him in junior high school. I tied my identity to being a registered nurse because that was my first career. And as those
Yeah.
things slipped away, I felt lost and I felt sorrow and I felt all of these things where I was just disconnected from myself. And
Yeah.
I'm able now to, in my mind, as you said that, I'm like, I'm tying that to our bodies fluctuate so much. And if we tie our value to a weight, if we tie our value to a look or a size on a tag, my God,
Yeah.
um, depending on where you go, that could be 10 sizes different. Um,
So different.
but
Yes.
yeah, but when you tie your value to those temporary things, especially your weight or the way that you look, it can really mess with your mental health. And so I hear you saying to focus on the more, the longer term things in your life.
Well, yeah, and the things that are more permanent about us, which is things that are in our soul, right? Like who we
Right.
are as a human being rather than
Mhm.
what our outsides portray, whether that's our job or our spouse or,
Yeah.
our body or anything like that. Let's tie it to who we are as a human being.
Yeah. I mean, this is just the meat sack that we have to use in order to go around and do the good things we want to do, right?
It really is. It really is. It's literally the least important, the least interesting thing about us, right? Like
Totally. I love that.
it truly is, right? Use that over and over. It's so true. I heard that from somebody else too, and I use it all the time because it is so darn true.
Mhm. And for every person out there that has like obsessed over your like the people that were looking at me going, you're too heavy or you're too thin. I mean,
Mhm.
those are so minute. It didn't occur to me until later when I was thinner and where I thought I should be that I realized like nobody is really looking at me. Like there might be one or two people that have something to say, and usually they're the people closest to you, but literally
Yeah.
I don't recognize other people's body or their size or their anything. I mean, looking
No,
at their eyes,
yeah.
I'm listening to their words, and I'm like, "Holy crap, was I really obsessed about this all this time, thinking that people thought something about me that they didn't really think?" I totally was.
When it comes down to us, and this is not in a negative way, but when it comes down to it, we are all the selfish individuals, right? Like in
Right?
the sense that we're thinking about ourselves. We're thinking about how we look. We're thinking about what we have to do after this, going to pick up our kids from school or what, what we are making for dinner. Like we are so focused on thinking about ourselves, honestly,
Mhm,
that we are not actually thinking about other people. And
mhm,
so I know I have gone, especially, when I was heavier too. I was almost 300 pounds as well when I started this journey. I was 297 pounds, and I
yeah.
would walk into a room and just think that everyone was just judging me, right? Like judging me for the
Right?
size of
Right.
my body, judging me for the
Yeah.
space that I was taking up, judging me because I didn't have great clothes, all the things that I think that they're
Yeah.
judging me for. And honestly, they're not judging. I mean, some people probably are, right? Like that's a thing,
Yeah.
right? Some people
Yeah.
probably are. But for the most part, people are thinking about themselves and what they have to make for dinner that night, honestly.
Right.
And they're also and then like you said, like I don't look at people's bodies. Like I want to go talk to them and I want to get to know them and learn more about them, and their bodies are irrelevant to me. Like I want to learn. So it's those things. Like people really aren't judging us as much as, especially based on our body shape, as
Right.
we think that they are, because we're judging ourselves that harshly on it, right?
That's
Just
it.
because we're
Yeah.
judging ourselves that harshly does not mean that everybody else is.
100%. Oh man. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about your work. What got you in? Was it this experience as a child and stuff that brought you to photography, or how did you get there?
That is a great question. I mean, so as a kid, I was given, I was trying to find it the other day. I can't find it around here, but I was given a little pink plastic camera. And so
Mhm.
that's kind of, I think I was probably, I don't know, 8 maybe when I got that or something. And so that's kind of what got me into photography in the first place. I
Mhm.
dabbled with it a lot, and then I became an adult and I turned away from things that brought me joy and focused on just being a boring adult and having a career and all those things. But about that time when I was getting divorced, I really wanted to find some more joy in my life again. So I turned back to photography and got into like landscape photography and that kind of stuff. And was at this meeting one time. I'll never forget this moment. See, I do have a good memory. I do
Mm,
remember moments. Um,
love this.
I was at this like landscape photography club, and it was a competition. So everybody, they were showing pictures up on the screen, and there was this one landscape, but it had a little tiny like person, like the back of a person, like looking at this big lake and mountains, and I was like, that just grabbed me so much because it just brought that human element to it. It's like there was
Yes.
so much more to that photo, because even though it was a little teeny tiny person in this giant landscape, it had a person and it had a heartbeat in it that way, right? It had more love and humanity in it that way. And so I quickly switched over to portrait photography and started learning that. So I was doing a
Wow.
lot of stuff in terms of, photographing babies in parks and, all sorts of different stuff. And I just knew that that
Mhm.
wasn't my path. It just wasn't what was capturing me. And at the same time, I was building my website and I realized that I didn't have any photos of myself because, right, like I've said,
Mm.
I had gained a lot of weight. I lived in big baggy t-shirts and jeans, and I had ball caps on so I could cover up myself as much as possible. And I hid
Mhm.
behind people in pictures, all those things. So I didn't have any pictures of myself that I could use on my website. As the face of my
Yeah.
brand, I knew I needed pictures of me. So
Yeah.
so I had learned through through beautiful fate of this photographer who was in LA, and she photographed women in a really beautiful way. And I, learned about her and found out she was having a workshop. And not only could I go and learn from her, but I could be photographed by her.
Okay.
So I went and I did that and I signed up for the photo shoot. And on the day of that photo shoot, I tell you, I was filled with so much fear, right? Like
Mhm.
that voice was in my head so strong, telling me, I'm too fat, telling me like I don't have good enough clothes, why does this person even want to photograph you? You know, you don't look good in anything, right? Those voices were just on blast in my head. And I had to work really hard to just tune them out and still go and do that particular photo session. And I know that a lot of women have those same thoughts whenever they're coming in for a photo session with me. I mean, most
Yeah.
everybody does it at some degree, right? But I did it, right? I knew that I needed those photos, so I went and I did it, and I tell you what, I had the best time in the entire world. I will never forget the feeling of just, like, how great that photographer made me feel, and it's like, I wasn't even concerned at all with my body or my appearance. I was just having fun. I felt beautiful. I felt seen and loved, and when I got those photos back, that experience is what I saw in those photos. How I felt was what I saw in those photos. I did not see
Mhm.
like the outside. I did not see the outside of Carrie, right? I saw my
Yeah.
inside. Like I saw how I felt. I saw who I was and who I was becoming in those photos because of how she made me feel. And
Mhm.
I completely changed my entire business to focus on photographing women in that same way because I know the transformation that I felt as a result of that. So that was back in 2015, and so that is what I have been doing ever since then. So that's what
Wow.
I mainly I mainly photograph women. So my platform is body image, but I photograph women for business, so branding, headshots, that type of stuff, and for bodies as well. So
Mhm.
boudoir and just other types of body photo shoots that really focus on women seeing their bodies and accepting their bodies just as they are.
Wow. Oh my gosh. The boudoir sessions are like a whole nother
Yes.
leveling up vibe of like feeling yourself, right?
I mean, truly, it truly is. I even took it to so we all know what boudoir is. I took it another step further this summer, and I developed a new session called which I call Unfiltered, where I invite women to come into my studio, not have their hair done, not have their makeup done, wearing no clothes if they want to, or minimal clothes, and I do no retouching on the pictures too.
Oh wow.
And I know, right?
Oh, that's scary.
I know, see, and that's how everyone reacts. They're like, "Oh
No.
my gosh, I can seriously,
No.
like, no hair, no makeup, no retouching, what?" But honestly, like, this is the fastest way to get to a place of body acceptance. I have done this session myself. My husband is awesome. He's great. He photographed me for my session actually, and
Oh
I
wow.
went through all the same things that everyone else feels. Like I started off really like no, like, I have a big belly. I have things about my body that I wish were a little bit different still, right? I mean, I still accept my body fully, but I still wish, especially when you have no clothes on and you're not doing
Yeah.
any everything you're touching, I wish that things were a little bit different. So I started off like really, really nervous in that session. And we do like three different sets. And by that last set, I was like, had my hands in the air and I was just putting it all out there. And I felt
Yes.
so amazing just in that like 30 minutes of that session, I had come full circle with being so like scared to be photographed in this way to like putting it all out there and loving it. And I've shared those photos on social media, right? Like I shared all, I think I was maybe 250 pounds at that time, 250 pounds of me with saggy boobs and a big belly and all the things. And you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? You know, I remember when I first shared the first one, I was so nervous that everybody was going to be like, "Oh my God, why are you sharing this kind of stuff with you?" Right? Like, why are
Yeah.
you putting yourself out here this way? And I have never received so much love and encouragement and support on a post in my entire life. Right?
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, and it helps people see that no matter what, like you can show up this way as well. Anyway, I am loving this new set that we're doing. It is the fastest way to get though from a place of really body disempowerment to a place of body empowerment.
Well, 100%. I mean, I just feel like some concepts are just true no matter what you apply them to. So
Yeah.
like speaking of my tooth, right? Like I went through a whole lot of things with my mouth since I had
Yeah.
cancer and all kinds of different medicines I was on that really wrecked my teeth. But
Gotcha.
I started water picking. Okay, I started
Okay.
going to the dentist and they started teaching me oral care better. How do we not go backward? And
Yeah.
when you're water picking your mouth, sometimes it hurts. It hurts a
Mhm.
little bit. But what I've
Yeah.
learned is you have to lean into that hurt because that's where the infection is. That's where something's
Yes.
starting that's ugly, that's not supposed to be there. So
Yes.
when you recoil away from the thought
Mm,
of
yeah,
exposing yourself naked or looking at your saggy boobs, or I mean, I've been with my husband for 8 years now, and it took me probably 2 years before I let him touch my stomach because I've lost a lot of weight. It's really, really saggy and flabby, and it hangs
sure.
down over
I've got
my
those too. I
I
get
mean,
it.
it's
Yeah,
it's gross. I
yeah,
hated it so much,
yeah,
but it wasn't until I started letting him touch it. And I
yeah.
started looking at it myself and being like, it's not so bad. This body gave me 2 children. This body is
Yes,
healthier than it used to be. And you have to
yes,
lean into that hurt. It reminds me of when
yes,
my 16-year-old son was in the hospital and had breathing tubes in and stuff. When he came out, he would gag at a bottle. It's like he forgot how to eat. We had to bring in a speech therapist. And the way that she taught him to eat again was touching way over here, touching on his cheek, and then eventually we made it to the lips and he wouldn't gag anymore. But
wow.
touching it, leaning it, looking into it, facing
Yes,
that
yes,
pain is what I'm hearing you say brings that
yes.
empowerment to women, right?
Oh, such a great analogy that you just did there, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the things that scare us the most are the things that we need to lean into the most. And
Yes.
so when we are having when we know when we're having body image stuff, right? Like we know.
Yeah.
It's not like I mean, we can turn away from it and we can ignore it, but we still know that we have it, right?
Right.
And so when we know that we have something, whether it's body image issues, whether it's teeth issues or whatever it is, right? Like the biggest thing is not to run away from it, to put our head in the sand. The
Yeah.
biggest thing is to lean into it and figure out a way to embrace it,
Yeah.
I mean, whatever that way is, of whether it's through photography or whether it's through going and getting counseling or whatever it is, like lean into it in some way that helps you not be fearful of that thing anymore. Because man, what we can do on the other side of fear is amazing, right?
Mhm.
There's
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
more potential on the other side of fear. I do a whole talk on bodies and business and
Yes.
how our body image issues actually hold us back in business for
Yeah.
so many different ways, right? I mean, obviously not being in photographs, not being on videos, not getting on stage, not going to networking events because we're scared that people are judging us, all the things, right? So think
Mhm.
about it even in terms of business, like if we could just accept our bodies more and be good with them, like how much more we could propel in
Mhm.
even our businesses and our personal lives as well.
Oh man, that's so true in business. I sometimes forget that. I think I sometimes forget that people have those issues because I've done so much work on it. Like I'm
You've
just
done
like,
all
hey,
the work
I'm
before, like
here.
I have.
I'm gonna
Exactly,
go
exactly.
first. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna wear this. I'm not gonna wear makeup. Like kudos to Pam Anderson in the last couple of years. By the way, like hell yes,
Seeing her
lean
so
into it,
much
girl.
makeup free, and it's
Right?
honestly at first it's kind of like, wow, it's kind of
Yeah,
startling because like,
it
wow, there's a
is.
woman out there on the red carpet with no makeup on, like,
Right.
whoa. And then you might think that she's courageous or something, but she's literally just a human being who doesn't want to wear makeup all the time.
Right?
I don't want to wear makeup
Like,
all the time
why do we
either.
have to label that as being courageous to go out without makeup? Like, holy
It's
crap. Like,
like normal. It's just
it's
like
just
being,
normal,
a
right?
normal human being. I mean, but good for her for finally being able to do that. I really
Mhm.
commend Alicia Keys is someone who does that as well, and I really
Yes.
commend both of them for showing up just really beautifully fresh faced.
Hell yeah. Like, so challenge yourself to show up without makeup one day this week, guys. Like, ladies, if you wear it, try without it. See how you feel. It's so
I love it.
freeing. It is so
I love it.
freeing.
I was on a call with like a Zoom call with someone one time, and she was like, "Oh, I have to have makeup every single time I do a video." And I said, "Wow, that I'm sorry you feel that way because I do videos
Right?
all the time and I don't wear makeup in my. I mean, sometimes I do. I have like a little mascara on today. I
Yeah.
filled in my eyebrows, but that's about
Yeah.
it. But lots of times it's not even that." And I said, "No one ever leans away from me because I'm not wearing makeup. They don't care.
Right.
They're listening to my message more than anything." So I said, "I challenge you
Right.
to not wear makeup on one of your videos." And she said, "Oh, I can't do
Yeah.
that." I was like, "Okay, well, you know what?
Yeah.
That's something that's a personal like thing that she has heard the story of her whole life that you have to wear makeup,
Mhm.
and it's
Yeah.
not a true story. But she's either going, if she wants to dig deep and lean into that, and
Yeah.
she has the option to do that. So
Well, that language is really powerful. I could never do that. Never. First of all, are you really using words like never and always? Because let's clear those
Let's just
from
take
the
those
room.
out, right? Let's take
Let's
those
just
out.
take care of that right now. But
Yeah.
you know what I have found in business, as we're on the business topic, like this confidence, um, it makes us so uncomfortable to try and be so fakely confident when you just when you really want to have business success, if you lean into you and who you are fully, values first, all of
Yes.
those things first, you are going to attract those people that you want to work with anyway. If you
So
have to
much
put on a face
more.
and some Louis Vuitton to get that client, screw that client. Like, let's go to Walmart
Exactly.
together or wherever we shop and let's get to business, like it's a
Exactly.
repellent. Once you
Yes.
finally feel free from that, you're like, what was I doing all this time?
Girl, 100%. And I mean,
Yeah.
and so that's why I do branding photography too, and just invite people to be their real vulnerable selves in their photo
Mhm.
sessions, right? To wear
Yeah.
what feels good and what matches their personality, to laugh and to do silly things in their photos
Yeah.
because like that is the real true them. And if you feel like you need to be perfect and fake in order to get clients, like you're
Mhm.
not getting the perfect fit clients for you then too, because you really want people who are attracted to the real true you. It's a lot easier to
Right.
live that way, by the way, also.
Mhm. Right?
But
Yeah.
like, the more that we're real, the more people lean into us. The more
That's
that
right.
we're fake, people will sense that fakeness. People will sense that you're trying to be that perfect you, and it will repel them. But the
Yeah.
more that we're ourselves, the more people will lean into us. And if they don't, that's okay. We don't want them as clients anyway, or friends, or
Right.
whatever. Like it's
That's right.
okay.
Yeah, there's like 8 billion people to choose from. We don't have time to work or be
Oh,
friends
no,
with all
mom,
of
we
them
do not have time
anyway.
for all of them.
That's right. We don't have time for you. We only have time for
Exactly.
real people. Okay, so parting words, like let's talk a bit. You are in Phoenix. So if you guys are wanting, like if you want her photography, you're gonna have to go to Phoenix. Or if you want to pay her to fly work, I'm sure she would come. Um
I think
right, either way. But also you deliver keynote speeches to women's groups
I
to tell us a
do.
little bit
Yes.
about that work.
Yes, thank you. So I have a keynote called Bodies and Business, the impact
Mm.
of body image on professional growth and success. And so I go around to, mostly to women's organizations, conferences, association meetings, all things, and talk about body image and how it affects us in business, because there is a good chance that it affects us in business even more than we realize. Like
Yeah.
as a person who I mean, I've been there, done that. I was affected when I was in my corporate job. I was affected so much because of my body image stuff. I didn't even realize it. And
Yeah.
so personally knowing that, I want to start having this conversation more, because we're not really even having those conversations too about how
Right.
it can affect, we understand that it can affect us in certain ways, but it can definitely affect us in how we show up in our businesses.
Mhm.
And I don't want women to be held back in their businesses. I want women to be as successful and powerful as they can possibly be, and if I can help them get through their body image stuff, to acknowledge, accept it, and get through it so they can propel even further in their businesses, man, that is what I want to be doing in this world.
Hell yes. This is the imposter syndrome that most people don't talk about. Usually the imposter syndrome is surrounding the work that we're doing or are we good enough at this? But you know,
Right.
you're never going to get over this until you get over yourself, like the way you show up, right?
Exactly.
This is where we
Exactly.
have to start.
And maybe that's why, like maybe that's why it's even when we talk about imposter syndrome and get training in it and all the things, maybe that's the why we feel it still, because we still haven't dealt with our own stuff, our own internal personal stuff, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Um, and I truly think that body image is the root of so much, stuff that we have around us that's not going the way that we want it to go, that we really need to lean into getting to know ourselves, accepting ourselves, loving ourselves, being kinder to ourselves. And when we are able to do that, it just releases so much. And then we are able to go out into the world, out into the community, and take that love and that acceptance and that kindness out there. It just creates this ripple effect, and it literally will create a social change. So, but the true work is starting with ourselves first, and especially around body image.
Mhm. Absolutely. Once you get this turned on in your head, you realize that we are on a continuum. As Carrie said, things change. It goes up and down. You're gonna be, but you're always gonna be who you are, and you're always gonna be with you. So you deserve to figure this out for yourself.
You're
Like
gonna be with
you
yourself the longest in your life. So like, why don't we learn to like ourselves
love
first?
her. That's right. Love
Oh,
her. That's
I
right.
mean, if we can love her, that's amazing, but at least like and accept her.
That's right. Just be okay with her. Come on. Okay, so
Right?
two more things.
Yeah.
You have a tool for us to uncover, like you said, a lot of us just have these blinders on, especially in business,
Yes.
like where
Yes.
our confidence lies. So you have a tool for that?
Yes. I do. I have a confidence quiz around body image. So I assume you're going to put the link somewhere, right?
Yes. Yeah. Link will be in the
Okay,
show
good.
description.
Okay, good. So go to the show description, look for that link, and it's a really quick, I think, 10-question quiz that really helps you see where your body image is holding you back in your business.
Mm,
And then
mm,
once you answer it and you get your score, then we're going to deliver a lot of really good resources to you to kind of help you move on to those next levels.
that's awesome. Okay. What is the one thing before we take the score? Like, we're going to all go take the quiz. Go take the quiz, figure out where you're at so you can start moving
Yeah.
forward. First of all, ladies.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
what is
Yes.
one thing that anyone can do to start to foster a better relationship with the mirror?
Well, to look in it, that's the first one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Foster a good relationship with the mirror. How many times do we just walk by mirrors and we don't even stop to actually look at ourselves, right? Like
Yeah.
we kind of ignore it. When was the last time you literally just looked in the mirror for even 5 or 10 seconds and just actually looked at yourself and looked at your features without any judgment, just kind of took yourself in and then maybe take it to the next level and just say, hello, gorgeous. Hello, beautiful. Like, I love you. Just say
Mhm.
something really loving and kind to it. That is I mean, you can literally do that in 5 or 10 seconds every single
Yeah.
day. And I guarantee you that if you started that today and you did that every
Mhm.
single day for 5 or 10 seconds, I mean, I'm not asking a lot of time, right?
Yeah. Very
You go,
short.
you go into the bathroom, you go pee in the morning, and you go look in the mirror for 10
Yeah.
seconds and you say something really nice to yourself. Whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. What
That's right.
matters is that you're starting to talk nicer,
Mhm.
kinder, more loving to yourself. And you get back to me in 7 days, get back to me in 14 days, 30 days, whatever, and tell
Yeah.
me what change that's going to make. It is going to make a huge, huge improvement in your life, just that little tiny bit.
100%. I could not agree more. I mean, there's a whole subsection of like therapy surrounding what they call mirror
Oh,
work, which
oh, right.
girl, I have sat on my bathroom cabinet and just looked in it and said, hello, little Amy. You weren't
Yes,
too much. You weren't too bad.
absolutely.
You weren't too. And saying those things out loud is so incredibly transformational. And it didn't take weeks. It didn't take, I mean, I did it maybe 5 or less times. And
No, I
already the
honestly,
switch in my
honestly, you
brain
can
for
probably in
real.
like 3 days, you can start
Yeah.
rewiring and the things that you're saying to
100%.
yourself in your mind. Exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a whole month. I'm just saying, like, come back in a month
Yeah.
and tell me, but it's gonna
That's
happen
right.
so fast.
That's
So
right.
mirror gazing is what you're talking about. I mean, it's a
Yes.
whole beautiful way to do that. I took things to another level, and during my photo sessions, I actually incorporate photo gazing. So that is,
Ooh.
after your photo session, now you have these beautiful photos of yourself. And not only do you have these photos, but you have the experience of being photographed. And as we're photographing you, I am filling you with so many affirmations, and you're feeling those and taking those affirmations in. So when you see those photos, you are reliving those affirmations at the same time. So photo gazing is actually taking those then, and then every day for the next however long, we're looking at those photos, we're reliving those affirmations, and we're building power and confidence in ourselves. So it's like, it's even better because, I mean, it's not better, but it's just another step because mirror gazing
Yeah.
still takes a little while sometimes because we're in our heads kind of still with the negative thoughts to begin with, right? And photo gazing, we have eliminated those negative thoughts. It is all positive stuff. So it is a
Mhm.
beautiful way to continue to change and rewire that mindset.
Absolutely. The more times you can go to that place of empowerment and worth and fulfillment and beauty in yourself, you're going to rewire your brain, guys. I promise you. It is an organ. It can be rewired. You can reteach
100%.
yourself. 100%. Oh
100%.
my gosh. Karianne, thank you so much for being my
You're
guest.
welcome.
And if you guys want to know where you're at, I mean, maybe you don't even realize where your blind spots are, go over to KarianneMunsteadt.com. I've got the link to the specific uncover your confidence score in the link in the show notes. Go over and check that out. If you need a speaker for your event, if you have a women's group and you're going, these women have got to start loving themselves, or I have got to start looking and accepting what I see in the mirror and being less concerned with these temporary things. Get with Karianne. She can absolutely help you guys out. Thank you so much, Karianne, for being my guest and for being a queen that leads.
Hey, and thank you, Amy, and thank you for showing up as your full real self this morning as well. Nothing tooth at all. I love it, and I appreciate you bringing that.
We'll be back in next summer with the tooth in place, guys. Thank you, guys.
The Queen's Lead podcast is recorded worldwide and produced by the kick-ass media team at the Height Digital home base in Nicaragua. Until our next episode, stay real, Queens, and go lead. Remember to tap that follow and leave your review. For freebies and more real, inspiring content you love, go to amysingleton.net and connect with Amy on her socials at @TheRealAmySingleton.
One more thing. This is the legal language, what my lawyer wrote and what I need to read to you. This podcast is presented for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am Amy Singleton, and I'm just your friend. Although I may speak to many on this show, I am not a psychotherapist, a business coach, a doctor, a CPA, a lawyer, or probably anyone who should be giving you professional advice. This podcast is not a substitute for a relationship with your doctor, coach, or any other licensed professional. Got it? Good. Now go be a queen and follow me at The Real Amy Singleton.